Who the fuck were my friends? Part one. I had a huge friend group my freshman year of high school, and we broke up in a crazy way. I got hazed. That was fun, and I've always wanted to tell the story. It's been years, and I still think about it from time to time. Yeah, it was a very traumatizing time in my life. Growing up, I didn't have many friends. I didn't have any besties, especially in middle school. I was bullied viciously in middle school, and I would honestly spend most of my free time and lunch in the library. The librarian was my best friend. My eighth grade year of middle school, my parents moved the entire family to a predominantly white area. Big new house, huge neighborhood. I'm talking multiple entrances. The neighborhood is bigger now. I don't live there anymore. But at the time when I was living there, they were starting to build the fourth entrance. There were three entrances into the neighborhood. It was huge. Big new school, really nice school. And I was just excited to start my new life because I wanted a new group of friends. I needed a new scenery. I was tired of being alone all the time. I was sick and tired of being bullied. I was in that very awkward in-between stage of life. And I saw this move as an opportunity. So comes my first day of school, I get to the bus stop. I realize that I'm one of the only Black kids at the bus stop. And when I get on the bus, I'm one of the only few Black kids at the bus. Like I said, it's a predominantly white area. So in my school, I was part of like a handful of Black students that were the only Black kids in the school for like the first 1 to 2 years of, just me living in that area. Later on, more Black kids and more people of color started moving down to my old area. But at that time, my freshman and sophomore year of high school, me and like a handful of other Black kids were the Black kids that went to that school. There was barely any Black kids there. But going back to my first day of school, I noticed I'm one of the only Black kids at the bus stop. I get on the bus and I sit next to the first Black girl that I see. We're going to name her Samantha. We start chatting a little bit. She also recently moved to the neighborhood. We started talking about how we're like one of the few Black kids and we're kind of excited to see each other. What I thought was solidarity talk, not knowing should become one of my fucking biggest ops while I was at that school. I go through school the entire day. I'm going through classes. I honestly feel like a black dot in a sea of milk. Like, it was so awkward, like my first few weeks at that new school, because even though I went to a pretty diverse elementary school, my middle school was majority Black. It was mostly Black kids. So it was a bit of like a culture shock. But I soon got used to that. First day of school ends, I get on the bus and I go to the back of the bus. Most of the friend group that I was in, they were all sitting at the back of the bus. They start talking, we start like connecting, and like we all add each other on social media, specifically Snapchat. And we had a Snapchat group name that I was our neighborhood name and fam. So purposes of privacy, I'm just going to call it Winslow fam. That was the group chat name. There was at least 10 people in our friend group. It was a mixture of boys and girls. People are in a higher grade, people in a lower grade. That's just how it was. At least 5 people that were in the friend group got off at my stop, and I got really close to them, especially with this guy. I'm going to call him Weasley because he was in a grade higher than me. And on top of that, I thought he was cute. I had a crush on him. And our houses were close to each other, so we would walk down and like just talk. That motherfucker, though, turned on my ass. Just let me get there. So that would be my routine. We'll talk, we'll snap each other, we'll talk in these group chats, we'll go to each other's houses, basically getting really comfortable with each other. In the neighborhood, in that friend group, in the neighborhood, there were 4 main Black kids that were in that friend group, which was myself, Samantha, we're going to call this kid Leviathan, and his sister Elizabeth. Elizabeth and Leviathan lived on the second pickup. Like I said, there were 3 entrances, so 3 times that the bus had to stop in my neighborhood to pick up kids. They lived at the second stop. They were one of the Black kids that were living in the neighborhood for the longest at the time, and they were one of the first people who, started this little friend group and everything. So especially Elizabeth, I'd go to her and I'd talk to her and would snap each other. I thought I was getting close with her. Thoughts. Especially when it comes to Elizabeth, because I really thought she was my friend, because like I said, growing up in school, like especially middle school, I was bullied. I was always in the library. I was a big reader. And when I found out that she also loved reading books, I was so excited. There were a couple other people in the friend group that didn't really like them that much. One girl, we're going to call her Texas. Spoiled little bitch. Let me watch my mouth. Spoiled little individual, okay? She had a uncle that had money, and let's just say she was spoiled a lot, and honestly she was a fake friend to my best friend. And we're gonna call my best friend that was also in the friend group that I'm still best friends with to this day, we're just gonna call her, what do I call her without giving her away? We're gonna call her Mary. Another girl that I really didn't like in the friend group, we're gonna call her Lorax. She becomes a big problem later on. We have the Bama twins, two people that snuck their way into the group that no one really liked but kept on sitting with us, a lot older than us, and kept on starting problems. We're just gonna call them the Bama twins. Let's just say Clark Kent, a little white boy that was very fucking messy. You would not think he was messy just by his looks off alone, but very fucking messy. We have Steven, who was in the friend group, but really not. He was a bit of a troublemaker, so we tried not to talk to him that much because he was always in and out of trouble. And those were the people that I can think of off the top of my head. Months go by, I'm getting into the routine of talking with people, navigating just relationships in that friend group, navigating school, being one of the only few Black kids in that school, dealing with micro and macro aggressions from my other students, and honestly, some of the teachers as well. Dealing with issues in that friend group because, my God, they were some of the fakest people in that friend group. Jesus. When it came to Texas and Lorax, they literally started problems all the damn time. They would always talk about other people in the friend group, talk about other people in the friend group to me or to other people, and then it would cause drama, and then they would fight on Snapchat, and people would leave the group chat and then have other people bring them back in. They were always causing drama, always talking smack about someone, especially when it came to my best friend, Mary. It would be a problem because it would seem like everybody would gang up on Mary all the time, and it just didn't seem fair. When it comes to Samantha, like I said, she became my biggest freaking biggest fucking hater. Thought we were going to be great friends. Like I said, first Black kid that I sat next to the bus, first Black kid that I saw try to latch onto her. Turns out she was doing a lot of shit talking, especially after the situation that I'm going to tell you guys about soon. She was always talking smack about me to Leviathan. I ended up confronting her in the bathroom. I would say about 2 to 3 months after, I think a year after that situation that I'm about to tell you about, because that hazing situation I'm going to have to break down. It might even be in part 2 because it's a long story. But like I said, I'm navigating my friendships with these people, navigating being one of the only few Black kids in the school, dealing with many dramas here and there, people arguing, people fighting. I would say the people that I thought I was closest to in that friend group would be Weasley. Like I said, I had a little bit of a crush on him, and like he lives close with me. Marie. And what did I call her? Elizabeth, because she also liked reading, so much so that I lended her my copy of Red Queen by Victoria Aveyard. If you're a book reader and you grew up reading books, especially in the 2010s, you know exactly what book I'm talking about. I thought we were close. There was also a lot of anti-Black issues when it came to the Black kids in the friend group. Like I said, I went to a predominantly white school and did deal with microaggressions all the time, but it also seemed like the Black kids in the friend group allowed things to slide, allowed racial jokes to pass, would get mad at me when I would say that white kids shouldn't be saying the N-word. And I specifically remember Samantha, Leviathan, and Elizabeth ganging up on me on the bus, saying that I just want a word I can keep all to myself, and the N-word can be said by anyone. Who cares? It's history. You just want to gatekeep a word. I'm being basically ganged up by the three other Black kids in my friend group. It was basically months of little tussles here and there, and just petty and stupid stuff that normally happens in a teenage friend group, right? But I still loved it because, like I said, I never really had a big friend group growing up. I only had 1 to 2 friends at most at the time, especially in elementary school and in middle school. So I was letting anything slide. Any disrespect, any shit talking, anything that was like, Nadia, we're going to have to revoke your Black card for that. I was letting anything slide. I was a very lonely and depressed kid, especially in middle school, like I said. So I was just taking any little crumbs anybody was willing to give me. But here comes the problem. I would say about like 4 to 5 months after, me starting the new school year, one of the Black kids, Leviathan, pops the question, Nadia, what would you do if we pushed you into a bush? Go to part 2. Who the fuck were my friends? Part 2. Okay, we're going to get into the hazing in this part. If you're stumbling across this video, go back and watch part 1. I would also like to mention, I forgot one kid in this friend group. We're going to call him Christian. He was also someone who was in the friend group and basically one of the other guys that were in my grade. So as I left off, Leviathan asked me, Nadia, how would you feel if we pushed you into a bush? Mind you, he asked me that question when we were sitting at the back of the bus and we were going home, and it was a rainy day that day. I asked him, why would you ask that question? That's a really weird thing to ask somebody. I'm not sure. Everybody, like our friends that were sitting in the back, were just like staring and being all weird and cryptic around me when he asked that question. And he's just trying to brush it off like, never mind, it was just a joke, we were just talking. I'm just like, okay, whatever. A couple months go by, I would say like a month or two goes by, and in that time I'm getting even closer with Elizabeth. I even lent her a copy of The Red Queen by Victoria Aveyard, which was one of my favorite books I was reading at the time, and I really wanted her to read it. Then the fateful day comes where I was sitting at the back of the bus and we were going home. And like I said, there are 3 stops in the neighborhood. Mine was the first stop in the morning. Elizabeth and Leviathan stop. The other half of the kids, where they get off, theirs is the second stop in the morning. But coming back from school, theirs is the first stop. And then my stop is the second stop. So it's reverse. I had a really good day that day. The vibes were really great on the bus that day. No one was arguing. There was no weird stuff that was going on. Nobody was arguing. Everybody was on the bus that day. No one had practice. No one had cheer. No one had soccer after school. Everybody was on the bus, because some days all of us wouldn't be on the bus because some of the people in the friend group had extracurricular activities like cheer, like I said, soccer, football, etc. Especially since it was fresh, fall semester. So they were basically doing football practice and starting off for like the football season. Some of the kids in our friend group were in varsity football. They were really good. Everybody's on the bus. Like I said, everybody's on the bus. The vibes are vibing. We kind of get close to the stop and they all turn around, and I think Ron was the first one that asked me. It was either Ron or Leviathan that asked me, hey, Nadia, come to get off the first stop. Like, we all just want to walk home together. I've never done that before because, like I said, the neighborhood was huge, and their side of the neighborhood is about 25 to a 30-minute walk from my side of the neighborhood. It was a long walk, and I was new to the neighborhood, and I didn't want to get lost. I'm saying, no, I don't want to do that. I kind of just want to go home. I'm tired. Weasley decides to say, it's okay, we'll just walk home together. Mind you, he lives close to me, and normally I walk home with him. We talk and everything on the way home. So I'm like, okay, if Weasley's getting off, that's fine. So my dumb ass gets off the bus. And I had a bad feeling, but I ignored it. And this is why you should never ignore your intuition. We start walking. We're walking. We passed the bus stop. We're walking. We're passing houses. They're pointing out whose house is that. I'm like, who lives in that big ass house? Who lives there? Who lives there? And Elizabeth comes and like she puts her arm around me, just like really tight, like just really grabs me. She's like, hi, Nadia. Next thing I know, I get shoved so hard into this bush. I don't know who shoved me. To this day, I don't know who shoved me first. Yes, I got shoved twice. First time it went down, I was so shocked because everything went down. I had an Android phone at the time. It fell. The battery came out. The screen cracked. I literally scratched up. Like, I was like fucked when I got home. Like, I looked fucked up when I got home. I was also in that kind of in-between phase of like skinnying out and also still having a bunch of baby fat, so like my clothes were fitting weird on me, so like my top was lifting up, like I felt like my underwear was out, like I looked fucking crazy. And of course they were recording. And then fucking Lorax, with her stupid dumb ass, decides that she wants to be funny. Mind you, already didn't like the girl, and she decides to come and push me again. But this time I was ready. I literally got up, I chased her down and punched her in the back of the head. What I really wanted to do was really beat her ass. Like like I feel like God whispered in my ear in that moment, like, don't do it, Nadia. Don't do it. I'm upset. I'm crying. I'm like, what the fuck? Like, I'm itchy. I have scratches. I break out in hives when I get home. Literally, shit was in my eye. My eye was blurry. Like, phone screen cracked. Like, hair a mess. Just itchy. Having reaction. It was so bad. Everybody starts yelling, why would you hit Lorax? Why would you hit Lorax, Nadia? Why would you hit her? Why would you hit her? That, oh my God, it was just a joke. It was just a joke. They pushed me into these like hedges. You know those thick hedges that like kind of frame the walkways? They're not too tall, but they're not small either. That's the shit that they pushed me into. Thick ass hedges that were close to the road. I'm crying, like I said. I'm basically having a freak out moment because I'm just like, I thought these people were my friends. Why would they do this to me? Like, my phone screen is cracked. I look crazy. Like, what is going on here? I refused to walk back with them. My dad was home that day, and I was able to pop my Android battery back in my phone. I call my dad. I'm like, can you please come pick me up? I mean, he's like getting mad at me. He's like, why are you even on that side of the neighborhood anyway? You're supposed to come straight home. Like, what are you doing? He picks me up. I tell my mom what happened. I'm crying. I'm upset. I had to go take a shower. Literally, my eye was like fucking blurry. There was shit in my eye. scratched up, had to put Neurosporin and everything, literally breaking out in hives. And my mom is literally upset. She doesn't know if she wants to be upset at me for like getting off at that stop. Cause like I said, in previous video, my parents are African. They're kind of strict. So like, they were very weird about it. I don't know. Maybe they wouldn't react in a way that your parents would probably react to this situation, but they were more so pissed at me for getting off at that stop. My mom's freaking out because she thinks it's another case of bullying. Like I said, I went through vicious bullying in middle school, and like she would get calls about it all the time, and she thought it was another situation. So she basically calls the school and calls the principal and everything. And I'm upset. Like I'm like on social media trying to like unfollow people, and I go on the Winslow fam group chat on Snapchat, and they're just talking shit about me. Nadia's such a fake bitch. They're calling out parents, because as soon as I called the school went and started calling the people their parents, like I think that afternoon or that morning. So it was either that afternoon or that morning, I forget when I checked the Winslow group chat, was when I saw they were just talking mad shit. Holy shit. Funny enough, before I even checked the Winslow group chat on Snapchat, when I first opened Snapchat, I got a message from Leviathan. He was saying, I'm sorry, what's happening? They're talking about you in the group chat. And I'm freaking out because like, why are they talking about me? Like, what the fuck? Like, what did I do? I'm not the one who got pushed here. My bad. I'm not the one who freaking assaulted anyone else in the group here. Why am I the one being talked about right now? I opened the group chat. They're talking shit about me, saying I was such a fake bitch, and they're calling their parents. It's down to third. And Clark Kent, the little fucking messy white boy, like I said, very fucking messy. He took a photo, I think a screenshot of this book, How to Lose All Your Friends, and scratched out my name, scratched out the author's name and put by Nadia Ajakum. To this day, I still remember that, because it's just like, you bitches fucking assaulted me. You guys hazed me, recorded it, laughed and everything. And then you're saying how to lose all my friends. Are you crazy? I don't even want to think about that too hard. Next day I go to school, they call me into the office, they're calling a whole bunch of people into the office, they're putting people in detention. They don't put fucking Lorix's ass in detention. Lorix, for some reason, somehow, even though she was the one who pushed me the second time, they don't put her in detention. They put Leviathan and Elizabeth in detention with me. I get detention, even though I was the one who was assaulted. I know. Lorix's parents are trying to talk to my parents, trying to talk it out. Mind you, her and her parents, there's some really fucking shady people even to this day. So I'm kind of glad they never even really got to talk to my mom like that, because like the schedules were kind of opposing. So like they couldn't really have a chance to talk with my mom. And I'm kind of glad, because honestly, now that we've grown up and like other shit has happened over the years, there's some really weird fucking people. She, for some reason, gets out of the entire thing because I punched her in the back of the head. Like, oops, sorry, self-defense. I really should have done more. But people start getting detention. People are in trouble. They're talking about me. I'm sitting in the front of the bus when I'm going home. I'm getting dirty looks from upperclassmen. Like these racist white upperclassmen. Like I'm getting dirty fucking looks from them. Mind you, like I said in the previous part, I was one of the few black kids in the school. And a lot of the kids in that friend group were friends with upperclassmen, especially when it came to sports and stuff, cheer and football. I'm getting dirty looks from these big ass fucking senior men, dirty looks from these cheer girls, dirty looks from people I don't even know. The video is all over this fucking school. My friends that were like, you know, quote unquote acquaintances that I ended up becoming really close with during the rest of the years in high school, they have seen the video and they're on my fucking side. Of course. The principal threatens to call the police on Elizabeth because, like I said previously, I lended her a copy of The Red Queen. I'm like, I want my fucking book back, okay? I give you my book, and if you're a book person, we don't lend out our shit. Go to part 3.
What is the one thing a friend has to do to get cut off by you? I'll go first. So it was one girl in college that I really hit it off with. We became really close really, really fast. We had the same friend group. We were around the same people all the time. Everyone got along just right. And in college, I was really, really involved. I was an ambassador. I was in AITP. I was in NAACP. I was in BSU. LSU, not this one. She was involved just like me, but she wasn't in the same involvement groups that I was in. So as I started getting involved in these groups, obviously the more events that happened on campus and the more involved that I was in, I didn't want her to feel abandonment. So I wanted to bring her with me as much as possible. until. So the event happened and I brought her over. I introduced her to everybody. So it was time to play card games. So we all sat at the table together and we were playing Uno. We were playing Uno. It was a cool little mixture of people. And of course, there was boys at the table. But mind you, we have the same friend groups. We've been around the same guys before. I would never expect her to do what she's about to do. So this guy came and sat by me. And of course, he was flirting. He was trying to holler or whatever. I wasn't paying any mind because I was already talking to someone at the time. So fast forward, the vibes was going. The cards were going, and so was this girl's mouth. She would not stop talking about my business and what I was doing at this table with like 15, 20 other people. And it started off subtle. It was like, oh, Jenna, are you still going over the... Jenna, how did it go with Professor da-da-da? I know you felt that test. I'm like, girl, like, what's your problem? She just would not stop, but I let it slide because maybe she's just excited. Maybe she's just, I don't know. But what crossed the line for me is when she was just getting aggressive. What do you mean by that, Jenna? Like, if I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe y'all picked 4 with me. Girl, shut the what are you talking about? And this girl doesn't even curse. I would make a joke and be like, aha, you forgot to say Uno out. And she'll be like, stop playing with me. I'm looking like, hold on. Things got extremely awkward because everybody's looking like, aren't y'all supposed to be friends? Like, or they didn't know whether to laugh or to be scared because she was really doing a lot. You would not think that we were friends when you walked in that room. To me, this was her showing off at this point because I'm like, girl, you don't even talk like this and you not like this. So why are you trying to act like this? Is there a guy you like in here? And lo and behold, it was. So then we move on to the cup game. You know, the head, shoulders, toes, and you grab the cup. That's what we did. So the game was going, and of course, her and I were partners and we teamed up against each other. So they started calling the calls: head, shoulders, elbows, cup. And I lost, she won because she grabbed the cup before me, obviously. And when I tell y'all, this girl got in my face, yeah, get it, yeah. But she was overdoing it. She was spitting in my face. Like, that's how bad it was. It was to a point where our homeboys was like, whoa, like, y'all good? Like, what's up? It was so awkward. I was like, yeah, are you good? Like, what's up? Girl, I was just playing with you. What you mean? And I was like, no. And at this point, I'm like, nah, you was playing. We were at Uno and you was telling my business. You was playing at Uno when you was embarrassing me in front of these guys. You were playing in my face when you got in my face. Like, it's all these I'm playing. When in reality, you've never played like this with the 1.5 years we've been friends. So what's really going on? Y'all, by the end of that night, everybody knew who I was talking to, what classes I was failing, where I lived, what I was crying about last week. Like, everybody knew my business because of this girl. And I was like, wow. Like, I was baffled, flabbergasted, discombobulated, and combusted. Mind you, there was no alcohol at this event. So she was not acting like this because she was tipsy. This was a school-funded organization event. There was no alcohol. So we get in the car and she tries to act normal. Like, this is the friend that I remember driving here with. Talking like she didn't just tell all of my business and embarrass me to the fullest at this event. At this point, I knew what she was doing. She liked a few guys in there. She was showing off. Like, I get it, but at the end of the day, that's not how you do that. Honestly, I wasn't even mad that she did all that. It was the fact that it came out in front of all these people and I felt like you did it on purpose. I was also shocked to know that this was a completely different side of you that I've never even met before. Even though we've been around guys together, we've been around the same friend group. I would never act like that around other people, and I would never act like that when you're introducing me to someone, especially at an event that you work at. I didn't completely cut her off. I definitely kept her at a distance, but I for sure would never and have never invited her to another event or brought her around anyone else because I just felt like that was too much. Because people, she didn't talk about my accomplishments or talk about anything else. She talked about everything that was happening bad in my life. And to me, you were waiting for the opportunity to say that. Y'all let me know. But until next time, peace, love, and applesauce. Bye.
I will never forget when one of my girlfriends found out I was a beauty content creator, and she showed her support by sending me such a cute, sweet little message. She's so silly and quirky. Over a year ago, I started to create content here on TikTok, and my one friend, bless her heart, didn't want me to get my hopes up. She wanted to remind me that I could easily fail. At this point, I had about 10K followers here on TikTok, and she wanted to make sure that I was ready to crash and burn. So what did she say to me? She sent me a message at 2 in the morning, and she said, and I quote, "I see you with your social media, miss trying to be an influencer. That's so cute. Just don't be upset if it doesn't work out how you plan it to." That's not even the best part. Do you guys want to hear the best part? She said, "I really don't know if this is for you. Honestly, I don't really think you have what it takes." Yeah. But it's cute to try. Ugh, love her. What does that even mean? I absolutely love when your friends are up at like 2 in the morning worrying about you failing, worrying about you so much to the point that they want to prepare you for failure before it even comes. Are you serious? Like, you're an amazing friend. This girl is a complete makeup and fashion girly, and she always told me how it was her dream to make content for beauty, but she never thought that she had what it takes, like her words exactly. And no, you guys, what she said to me was definitely not projection. It was just her being a good friend and making sure I didn't get disappointed. But the funniest part ever is that a week after she said this to me, she posted her first beauty TikTok, and it was just like a video I had posted with my exact same caption and hook. I really wish she could watch this video, but she blocked me. When my video started to get attention, she blocked me, and I haven't heard from her since. Now, I didn't think I was harming anybody by making beauty content, but this girl was extremely triggered. So triggered that she couldn't stand to see me do fairly well for myself. You guys, when I first started content creating, my goal in mind wasn't to become famous. It was literally just making beauty content. It's something I love. A couple weeks later, I had found out that she sent one of my videos to one of like my distant friends, which is really random, and she was basically just making fun of me. I might have missed something, but I really don't know what there is to make fun of. Maybe she was making fun of me for the fact that I have collaborated with some of her dream brands, or maybe she was just making fun of the fact that I was ugly. I'm probably one of the most supportive friends out there. Like, when I see my friends doing something for themselves and they enjoy it, I am rooting you on. I'm rooting you on more than I'm rooting myself on. It's weird because when we were friends, and this is something I definitely should have noticed, but I just like brushed it off. But every time I would tell her one of my accomplishments, she would always just like give me the side eye and always try to humble me. You can't humble someone who's already humble. What's really unfortunate is that she's not the only friend I've lost after I started making content. And it's something I've never been able to understand. After I hit about like, I would say 80 or 90K, some of my friends really just stopped talking to me. They stopped reaching out to me. They stopped liking my posts on Instagram. I just want to let you guys know, like, if you're doing something that you love, it's really gonna piss a lot of people off. And a lot of people are gonna show their true colors. Anyway, you guys, that's my little story. Just be careful who you keep around you. Not everyone wants the best for you. Love you.
I literally can't stop thinking about the time that a friend of mine gave me this hand chain, and she was like, happy birthday, this is for you, this is such a collector piece, look, I have one, I love it, I want you to have one too. I was so impressed and actually shocked that she got it for me, and I was like, wow, I've always admired it on you. And she's like, I know, you complimented me on it before, so I thought like you should have one too. I had to pause because my child was not having it yesterday, but here I am to tell the rest of the story. So she's like, yeah, I know, you compliment mine all the time, you should have one too, so here you go. Now we can match. And I loved it. I was so grateful, and I eventually ended up buying a second one. The obsession grew, and then I bought a third one. Around the time that I bought the third one, I was planning this shoot for this new business that I was launching. And I was telling this friend, I was like, I'm going to do my makeup for it and my hair and whatever. I'm not going to like waste any money, blah, blah, blah. Dude, she was like, no, I'll do your hair and makeup. I would be happy to do your hair and makeup. And I was like, oh, okay. And she and her sister decided to do their hair and makeup for me for the shoot. Around like 30 minutes into the shoot, I felt like the vibe had changed and they were being really weird. They were whispering a lot and like talking a lot, but they were kind of working together to do my makeup. So I thought that maybe they were just talking about like the work they were doing with the makeup, and like maybe they wanted to fix certain things and whatever, because at a shoot things can get a little hectic. So we wrapped the shoot. It was New Year's Eve. Then we go home, everybody goes home, and they both text me and they're like, Happy New Year's, like wishing you abundance, amazing year, blah, blah, blah. I text them back, I say the same thing, and then I don't hear from either of them for like 4 days. And I've like texted them and they're not answering me. So then I get a message from the one, and she's like, have you noticed that I haven't been answering you? And I'm like, yeah, what's going on? And she's like, I think we should talk on the phone. So we got on the phone, and basically she tells me that she notices that I have 3 hand chains and that she was really offended that I had bought a third one without asking her permission. I was so shocked. I was like, oh my God, I'm so sorry that that bothered you. And I didn't even think to ask your permission because I don't think I need to ask your permission, but sorry if that bothered you. And she was like, thank you for receiving that so well. So I'd appreciate it if you don't wear it anymore. And I was like, I guess I can just like not wear it around you, but whatever. And we kind of ended the phone call there, but like I felt really weird, and clearly so did she, but it was like a very shocking conversation. So not everything that needed to be said was said. Fast forward to like a week later, I call her and I'm like, hey, that like didn't land very well with me actually, and I think it's kind of fucking weird that you're asking me to like not wear it around you. She's like, no, I'm not asking you to not wear it around me. I'm asking you to get rid of it because I don't want you to own 3. I have 3, and I don't like that you copied me and now you own 3. I was literally shocked. I was like taken aback. Like literally, what the fuck? I'm like, this is getting so weird. Like, this is so odd. Like, we need to have like a full-on conversation about this. So we plan a day to get on the phone and have a conversation about it. And basically the day comes to have the conversation, and she's like, I'm not feeling it. I'm emotionally drained. I can't get on the phone with you right now. I'm like, okay, no problem. When do you want to do it? She's like, tomorrow. We get on the phone to have this conversation about this fucking hand chain. And she is like, okay, so let's start. And I hear her open a notebook. She starts going off, reading line by line by line over our 5-year friendship, all the times that I pissed her off. I hear pages literally turning, and she's getting louder and louder and louder, and I keep trying to like speak, and she's like, don't interrupt me. She basically told me that I copy and paste. She was like, copy and paste, copy and paste, copy and paste. That's all you do. You copy and paste my life. You want to be me. This is crazy. And I was like, this is so bizarre. Like, I have 2 sisters. We copy each other all the time. I don't see it as copying. I see it as more like being inspired by someone, I guess. I also didn't think anything of it that you like started my fine jewelry collection with this hand chain, and I just like started buying more. Also, I've always loved jewelry. Like, that's just kind of, it was just like, I don't even know how to explain it. It felt so odd to even explain. Basically, the conversation kept going on, and she was screaming at me and just telling me how fake I was and how I'm just this awful person who's trying to steal her life, and she doesn't like when her friends have anything that she has, which is ironic because she had bought it for me in the first place, and that I needed to apologize and get rid of it, and I couldn't even have it in my home, and all this kind of shit. And I was like, you know what? I can't do any of that. And she's like, I thought you were going to say that, so I want you to know this friendship is officially over. I will be unfollowing you on every social media. We are not connected anymore, and I'll miss you as my friend. And I hung up because I was like, this shit is like bonkers, beyond bonkers. Like, I feel like I'm in some weird fucking alternate universe and I don't even know what's happening. And basically, like, we didn't talk for a year. And then a year later, I received an email from her telling me, like, how she's changed and grown and, like, all this kind of stuff. And by that time, I had already had my baby. And I was like, get the fuck. I can't even re-enter this fucking shit. Because she also said we both needed to take responsibility for the things that we had done in that same email. And I was like, no, you're not going to tell me what I need to take responsibility for. So that is a clue to me that I'm going to walk away. But yeah, every time I look at it, I remember that. Now you know too. Bye.
Do not become friends with a girl who has 0 friends and all she does is talk shit about her old friend group and her ex-best friend, because I promise you, you will find out why she has no friends. This video, we're gonna call her Underboob because that's all she posts on her TikTok and Visco. But basically, I'm from Calgary. She's a girl from Calgary. She was an online friend. This is why meeting friends off social media can either be a hit or a miss, because I hung out with her once and I realized she's crazy. The worst part is that I was friends with one of her ex-best friends, and Underboob basically brainwashed me to think that the other girl was like crazy, not a good friend, wouldn't be a good friend. So I basically cut that girl off. And then I realized that Underboob was the crazy one. A couple months ago, I was back in Calgary and I was going out with my best friend. So I decided to invite Underboob because she said she wanted to hang out when I was back in Calgary. She offered to drive, so she comes to my friend's apartment to pick us up. I was drinking a little because pre-game, I don't really drink that often, but my best friend made us mojitos. So yeah, my face got a little bit red. Literally the first thing this girl says, this is my first time meeting her, like 5 seconds after saying, oh my God, it's so nice to meet you. She literally goes, oh wow, your face does get red. I literally turned to my best friend because that's like one of my biggest insecurities, and she's like, oh no, like don't worry, it's not that bad, like it just looks like blush. If you're new here, my type is a sexy black light-skinned man, and my best friend was like, yeah, we have to go to this one club because that's where they're at. I was like, perfect. Like, I literally never go out, so I have no idea where to go. So we get there and it's like we were early, so it wasn't really that exciting. Underboob moved us to another club because she was not having a good time, I guess. And basically the entire night we were just going to different clubs and she was trying to find her friends, which like I really did not know that that was our plan, was her trying to meet up with her friends. So we finally get to this rooftop bar, I think it was Craft or National, and she finds her friends. And this girl doesn't even introduce us. We're just standing there. I feel bad. These people probably thought we were just like creeps, like following her, because she literally did not introduce us to her friends. Any normal person would be like, oh, I'm here with Josie and Casey, like I just met them tonight, we're going out, like blah blah blah. This girl is definitely the type to choose guys over her friends, because the way that she booked it to her guy friends and the guy that she was talking to and literally just forgot that she had came with us was actually crazy. I was not having a good night, so me and my best friend decided to Uber home early, and this was the most awkward part because I was like, oh, I think me and Casey are gonna go home, and she was like, okay, and I had to be the one to initiate. I was like, oh my god, it was so nice to meet you, and gave her a goodbye hug. But like, if I didn't do that, she was just gonna be like, okay, bye. Like, Underboob had posted a picture with me and my best friend on her Snapchat story, and literally on the Uber home, I'm checking my DMs, and her ex-boyfriend is in my DMs, so I screenshot it and I sent it to her. I was like, what is he doing here? Like, I don't even know how he found my Instagram. And she's like, oh yeah, like, he DM'd all my friends tonight. I was like, huh? She was supposed to be our driver home, but she was very intoxicated, and she wanted to leave with a man, so yeah. After meeting her that one time, I really realized that she was not my type of vibe, so I kind of just stopped talking to her. But the other day, she unadded me off Snapchat, so I unfollowed her on Instagram. I feel like that's the normal thing to do. Then go onto my phone and I see a DM. It's like, girl, not you unfollowing me. You literally unadded me on Snapchat. Like, why are you being so dramatic? You made the move first. I could only see the preview of the DM, so I go to click on it and she blocked me, which I just thought was funny because this girl is like known for just going through friends. Clearly, she needs to work on herself. She's the girl that will choose a guy over you in seconds and needs the male validation clearly because she just abandoned us when we went out with her. Is it just me, or is it weird that this girl would go through my following and follow random people that she does not know that are like my friends? And some of them, like, I have not even ever met. They live in a different country. We're online friends off TikTok, and I know that she is going through my following and finding these people because, like, there's no way this girl could have known them. I just thought that was really weird. I was like, girl, you really need friends that badly? I'm honestly really glad that she blocked me because I was able to rekindle my friendship with the girl that that Underboob basically brainwashed me about, because I know that that girl is a good person, and now we can just bond over our trauma of having to be friends with this girl. I'm a little bit scared about what Underboob might be talking shit about me now to other people, because that's what she did to me about my other friends. But you know what? I don't think she has anybody to talk shit to. She's running out of people. She also doesn't see a problem with talking to a man with a girlfriend because she thinks that she's better than everyone else. But I'm gonna let her get her karma one day for that. At the end of the day, you get to choose who you're friends with and who is in your circle. So just be careful, because people are not always how they seem on social media. And it's really scary when you meet these people, and like, obviously they can be very manipulative, but you just won't kiki with everybody. But I'm glad that I was able to rekindle with my old friends. So I guess this worked out for the best. This girl needs to leave Calgary because I don't think anyone there likes you.
Have another psycho ex-friend story to tell, and this one is actually insane. Before you comment, this is not real, or this is definitely not something that happened, believe me, unfortunately it is. This one extends throughout most of my childhood and into my teenage years. I am a first-generation child of immigrants. Both of my parents immigrated from Poland to the United States in the 1990s. I live in New York, and in New York, there's a couple of areas that have high Polish population. I grew up on Long Island. So on Long Island, there's this one school, a Polish school, and these schools are all across the United States. But in New York, specifically on Long Island, there's I think 2 schools, and I went to one of them, and it's very common for children of immigrants to be enrolled in these schools just like I was. My mom has an education and master's degrees in teaching, so she was a teacher at this Polish school that I went to for literally my whole life. Once you enroll in the school and you're in a class, that same class stays consistent year by year. I'm not sure if every Polish school is like this in the United States, but mine was structured to be held on Saturdays. So my Saturdays were always booked and busy with Polish school. I was in these classes and I was learning about my heritage, my parents' background, the history, how to learn and read in Polish. I am fluent in Polish, actually. I didn't really know English until I went to school. So my first language technically is Polish. I started school in 1st grade, and now I get to meet all of my classmates. And this girl, who the story is about, enters my life. Her name was pretty similar to mine. I'm not gonna say what it was, but we're just gonna call her Julie. Being an immigrant child, especially of a teacher, my mom really instilled it into my head to make sure that I was really good at Polish, because it meant a lot to her for me to uphold the tradition. So I was really good in this class, and so was this other girl, Julie. We had a little friend group. Most of the girls usually sat next to each other. The guys would go sit with each other. So this girl was also standing out academically because she was also very strong at Polish and everything else we were learning. My Polish school and also other Polish schools in the area would hold competitions and contests, and sometimes there were scholarship awards and sometimes there was other things like that that you can compete for and win. My mom would make sure that I was enrolled and I was doing every single one of these competitions, and so was Julie. Her parents were pretty much on that too. I'm not sure if this has anything to do with Julie's behavior, but she's an only child and I have a younger brother. I really do think that like only child syndrome is very much evident in children that are raised to be very much like the center of attention. Julie's parents literally raised her on the idea that she is the most important person in the world, and if anybody else stumbles to take you off of your pedestal, they need to be eliminated. These contests and little award ceremonies that the Polish schools were having was something that I was very familiar with, and I would usually win pretty big awards. Typically, me and Julie were neck and neck because both of us were really good at what we were doing, and our parents were both making sure that we were enrolled in almost every single competition. So then going from elementary school into middle school, some of these competitions became a little bit more serious, where you can get a lot of money for scholarships, and I was saving up for college, obviously, and so was Julie. Typically, I would write poems, and I would do the writing competitions, and Julie would typically go for the more artistic competitions. I think my absolute favorite one that I ever did was one where my poem was published in a book, a Polish book, and I actually have a copy of it at my hometown. I don't have it here with me, but my poem was published in a book because I won the contest. When something like this would happen and Julie either wasn't enrolled in that competition or she didn't like the attention that I was getting from the other teachers at the Polish school for my recognition, she would cause problems. Her mother and her would go around the entire Polish school, and the community is very small, so word travels around fast, and your reputation is very important to uphold. Julie's mother and father, honestly, for that matter, would go around the Polish school telling everyone that I am not worthy of winning this because my mom's a teacher and I have an advantage over Julie. This still happened even if Julie wasn't enrolled in the exact same competition that I was. My mother had to defend me so many times among like the board of education essentially because this girl and her mother were going around saying that I am cheating, that I have an advantage because my mom's a teacher and I don't deserve to win these things because she's better than me, basically. This was honestly exhausting and happened a lot throughout my entire childhood and like going into middle school and then high school. There was a competition that I decided to take a part of because the reward was like really, really big. Let's say it was like $500. Julie also took part of this competition, and essentially the winner would get highly recognized among the entire Polish school. And we had these like really big events in our auditorium once in a while, and it would be a huge prestige to be recognized in something like this. So I took part of it, and instead of writing something, because this particular competition had a lot of artistry and a lot of artistic things that you could do. So what I did is I bought mannequin heads and I essentially recreated the old kings of Poland because that's like what the assignment was. Julie didn't do the mannequin heads that I did. She ended up doing something, I think it was like a poster board or something. But anyways, I ended up getting first place and she got second. And whenever she would get second, especially to me, it was the end of the world. When she got second place, she texted me on Snapchat saying that I have absolutely no right to take away her spotlight because she is known as the artistic one and I'm known as the writer. So I should stick to writing and I should get off her turf. This was just a common occurrence for Julie to say. So like when I would read these messages, I was just like, I actually do not care. There is nowhere in the rule book that it says that I'm not allowed to take part in something. I took part in it and I won. Sorry. This girl and her mother obviously were going around the entire Polish school, tarnishing my reputation, trying to drag down my mother as well. And my mom, when you mess with that woman's reputation, trust me, she's gonna come after you. So every year in New York City, in October, there's a huge Polish Day parade. And it's a tradition among Polish schools to have a beauty pageant where you would be Miss Polonia. My junior year of high school, I competed and I won Miss Polonia. This was the coolest thing ever. I felt so stunning and just so proud to be Polish when I was marching in this parade. The day before I competed for Miss Polonia, Julie wasn't in my pageant. She ended up competing the next year. But for my year, she texted me the day before because I think she could sense that I was competing in the pageant. She texted me asking me if I was competing and I said yes, and she was kind of throwing a whole fit. She was like, no, like you can't do this because they're gonna pick you anyways because you're the teacher's daughter. And I was like, that has nothing to do with that. The committee isn't even associated with the Polish school. So when I won and I was getting all this attention, this completely set Julie off into like what I call her villain arc. It was a tradition for buses to be sent to my Polish school, and a bunch of people from the school would go and bus over into the city and join this Polish Day parade. So when I was Miss Polonia, I was super excited. I got to like ride on this really cool, I think it was a Porsche, like a Mercedes. My dad rented it out. It was the coolest thing. I am so grateful for this experience. It was awesome. Except every single year we would go. I would go, Julie would go, her family would go. This year, suddenly Julie's not going when I'm Miss Polonia. The jealousy, like truly, I can 110% say that this girl was absolutely crazy jealous of me. And I'm not even saying that to sound cocky or conceited. completed, she just could not handle not being on top. So she randomly shows up in the city. I expected her to not be there because she didn't bus over with everyone when we all left the Polar School to get to the city for the parade. She randomly shows up. She's super cold to me. She barely takes a photo with me, but I can tell that there's some like tension there. Next year rolls around, and now it's the next Miss Bologna competition, and Julie is enrolled in it. She had tarnished my name so badly for the entire year that I was Miss Bologna that the committee had to sit down with her and tell her that if she does not stop crap talking me or my mother, they will take away her title. Newsflash, she actually ended up winning. She was so prepared for this competition. Like, you could tell the entire year that I was Miss Bologna, she was preparing probably religiously in order to win so that she can take that throne on top. You know what I mean? Here's the craziest thing that she did. And me and my mom actually consulted with a lawyer and almost got an order of protection against her. Junior year of high school, typically, so 11th grade essentially, that is the last year of the Polar School that you can be enrolled in. You take a huge exam, which is equivalent of a New York State Regents exam. So I got this Regents exam credit on my high school transcript. This exam is so difficult to prepare for. It literally took me months to memorize everything because it's such a huge test. Preparing for this exam was no joke. I was so stressed out because this was my junior year of high school. I was dealing with SATs on top of like my Polar School requirement, and I remember studying so hard for this exam. Exam day comes around. We are all lining up to be taken into the exam rooms because this was a verbal and physical exam. I was third in line. Julie was a couple people away, and you would go in the room in threes. And when I was entering the room, Julie cut the entire line just to be in the same room as I was, the same time that I was taking the test. She completely messed up the entire order just to make sure that she was in the room with me because she was so psychotically obsessed with getting a higher grade than me. At this point, I was completely used to her nonsense. She was trying to turn the other girls in my class against me, even though we were all pretty good friends. She was turning them against me, spreading a whole bunch of rumors about me. So this was just like another one of her things. What's important to note about this exam is that there is a really big written requirement that is taken outside of examination day. So this is like a really big essay that was written on a certain topic, and you would submit to your teacher like aside from the exam day. There was speculation that Julie and her mother went into teachers' files, found my file, and took photos of my essay to make sure that hers was better than mine. This was obviously a huge breach of code of conduct, and there was a pretty big investigation, and I don't think that they found consistencies with her doing so, but she was ordered to apologize to me for her crazy behavior. We lived towns away from each other, and she would show up in my town at like the place that I worked with like girls that I was friends with from the Polar School that she was turning against me just to like torment me. When Julie was Miss Bologna, and the whole committee like essentially was pretty upset that she won because she was not a good person and she was tarnishing the Polar School reputation because of how literally insane she was. They had to have multiple sit-down conversations with her and tell her to knock it off because my mother was literally seeking an order of protection, and that's what got her to finally stop. This girl was just my biggest op literally ever because she was constantly one-upping me, and if I was better than her, it's the end of the world. She's crap-talking me, she's crap-talking my mother. There was just such discrepancies between this girl and like my family. I have absolutely no idea what this girl is doing now with her life. Me and my mom laugh about her all the time because of how literally insane this whole situation is. I feel like I'll have to make a part 2 because I'm definitely leaving out a lot of details, but this is just the gist of it. Isn't it nuts?
Story time about how I was friends with probably the biggest pathological liar of all time. Story is about a girl, let's say her name was Kiana. And I tell you guys, this girl was the biggest liar I have ever known in my life. So Kiana had a boyfriend, like a guy friend, whose name was Josh. And she introduced me to Josh online. Like, she gave me his iCloud to message, not his phone number, but his iCloud. Josh would message me every day, and me and Josh also became very, very close friends. So Kiana was a friend that I really, really cared about. We just really connected on a lot of levels. She was really close to this Josh guy, and him and I also developed that same connection where we were so close. We would talk literally every single day. It was, like, honestly the first guy friend I ever had in my life. And she would always tell me and my friend that she did not like Josh at all. Eventually, because I was talking to him every day, I kind of liked him. Like, he was probably the first boy that I thought I really liked. He would always tell me things like I was so beautiful, and no one really ever made me feel that way before. I was so young, and also I didn't look good as a kid. But also keep in mind that I was literally 12, so my parents weren't going to allow me to go out and see a guy or anything. So Kiana kept pressuring me because she had a feeling that I liked him. She kept pressuring me, asking me if I liked him. I told her I did like him, and she turned around and she said to me that he was hers, and like she actually did like him and she wanted to be with him and stuff. That was completely fine. I probably cared about Kiana more than I cared about Josh. Like, She was my best friend. Josh would still flirt with me and call me beautiful. He'd even say some dirty stuff. So around that time, Kiana told us that her and Josh had. I'll just tell you guys a couple facts about Josh. Lived in the nicest house on her street. Supposedly had like 8 bedrooms. It was pretty wealthy, obviously. He went to our school's brother school, but in a year level above. Maybe like 5 or 6 months into mine and Kiana's friendship, her and Josh start dating. She is at his house every day, or he's at her house every day, and she's skipping school nearly every day to go to Chatston Shopping Centre with him. So after they started officially dating, he stopped flirting with me. Actually became a bit rude to me. He just always put me down. Anyways, then a couple months later, they broke up and he became flirty to me again. When they broke up, she started dating this guy named Adrian from her dance school, and he followed me on Instagram because her and I were really close. Still remember exactly, but Adrian had 14 followers and he was super hot, like really hot. This was like literally the night before the last day of school in year 7. Josh got really drunk and he messaged me out of nowhere. We hadn't really spoken in maybe months. Started flirting with me out of nowhere, and he was being pretty dirty with it as well. Flirting with me so much and telling me I'm the most beautiful girl in the world and I was more beautiful than Kiana. And I was just kind of getting a bit freaked out. Then he started asking me about Kiana and Adrian. Just asking about them a lot. So his questions slowly transitioned from asking about Kiana and Adrian to asking about me and Adrian, and also me and him. He was asking me which one out of the 2 of them I would rather give a blowy to, like him or Adrian. I literally told him I feel extremely uncomfortable. Can we stop talking about this now? And then he was like, yeah, I'm so sorry. And then completely stopped flirting with me. Then he started talking about how he really missed Kiana and he didn't mean anything that he was saying when he was flirting with me. I'm not really his type and all of that, but he was mainly saying that he really missed Kiana and he wanted her back. And while he is messaging me, Kiana is at a dance class with Adrian. My makeup is completely out of order, but I just remember this line. I have to put it in here. Her and Josh got back together. Anna hadn't got her period for a few weeks after she was meant to get it, and she was convinced that she was pregnant with Josh's baby. And me being an amazing friend I am, I literally went and bought a pregnancy test. Yeah, I forced her to take a pregnancy test.
Get ready with me while I talk about the time I got scammed by a pathological liar for months who I thought was my friend. And as always, I want you guys to be getting ready with me, so bookmark this video if you have to. You can not just get ready, you can garden, you can take a shit, you can go for a walk, you can do your laundry, whatever you want to do, we're on FaceTime. So this happened probably like 5 years ago. I think I was still in high school when this happened. I was working at like an old people home doing food service, which let me tell you is a nightmare within itself because I was working in the dementia part of it, and I have a huge soft spot for people with dementia, but a lot of crazy shit occurs when you work there. And the people who work there kind of have to stick together because, like I said, a lot of crazy shit happens. And there was this girl that worked there, and I think she was like 2 or 3 years older than me, and her name was Ella. So I think at the time I was like 17, so she might have been like 19. I don't know. It doesn't really matter that much. And over time, we kind of got a bit closer, just, working together. And she would drive me to work sometimes. Sometimes I'd drive her to work, we'd garden with each other after work, that type of shit. And Ella was the type of person that just always had some shit going on. And I need you guys to understand that when I was like 17, or just for, honestly, until very recently, I had no self-respect. Honestly, if you're somebody who watches my story times, you're well aware of that. And I loved taking care of people. It'll probably explain why I was working with dementia patients to begin with. I mean, I always have a job like that. And because of that, she was kind of just always in a crisis, and she would call me and I would help her work it out. And like I said, this is a common theme with a lot of my friendships, but specifically with Ella, that was kind of unless we were at work, that was the only reason why we talked. The literal first conversation that we had when I started working there was her literally fully trauma dumping her entire life story on me. And I had been through similar stuff that she went through, so I had I felt sorry for her. I wanted to help her as much as I could. And because of that, whenever she needed anything, I would drop everything and, see what I could do. So I guess some important like context for the situation is that she told me that she was like a backup dancer in LA and she was touring with like multiple celebrities. And when someone tells me that, listen, like, I'm just gonna believe them. Call me gullible, but like, I'm not a person that just assumes that people are lying. So I fully believe her when she showed me like these pictures of her dancing and all this shit. Like, there was never any celebrities in them or whatever, but she told me that her mother had passed away pretty recently, which is why she had to move back, which because we started working there at the same time. So I had obviously, you know, like a lot of empathy for her because she was going through a really tough time. And, you know, she would break down sometimes. I'll comfort her, you know, just like regular friend stuff. But a big thing is that she really wanted to like continue to dance. But I guess with her mother passing, the financial situation just wasn't great for her. So she didn't really have like the money to like, I guess like book time to go dance at a studio, and she couldn't really dance at her house. So she would ask me to borrow money a lot so she could go to like a dance studio and like take extra classes and do all of that. And now, like I said, if you watch any story time that I've ever done, you will know that in the past I've been very generous with my money. So even though I had a bunch of my own bills to pay, I was paying off a car, like all sorts of shit, I was still giving her like portions of my paycheck because she kind of made it sound like if I didn't help her out with this, that she was gonna like herself. You know what I mean? And at this point, you know, I've grown to really like this girl, and she's going through a tough time. And when I've gone through really tough times in my life, no one's ever done something like that for me. So I tried to be as helpful as I possibly could. You know, she would send me occasional videos of her, you know, dancing in the studio and doing stuff. And I would be like, period. But something that really struck me is that she never really cared about any of my hobbies, which I definitely noticed at the time. But I have this thing where I wear like really, really intense rose-colored glasses about people. So I was just like, oh, well, you know, she's going through her own shit. She doesn't have the capacity to, you know, support me and my hobbies and my music and stuff. Because obviously, if you follow me, you know that I make music, and this is around the time where I really started, you know, writing my own songs and like really releasing stuff. So yeah, she never really like gave a fuck about that, but I gave her a pass because she was going through shit. One day she calls me like, I don't know, I think like 25 minutes before her shift was supposed to start, because she was working the opposite shift as me. And I was just like, I don't know, I think I was out with one of my friends. And she was like, I need you to help me. Like, I just got rear-ended. Like, I'm really on my way to the hospital right now. Like, my head is cracked open. Like, it's really bad. My car is fucked. Like, I don't know what to do. Like, I can't make it to work. Are you able to cover my shift? Obviously, if somebody tells me that, I'm like, yeah, girl, like, what time am I supposed to be there? She's like, 25 minutes. I'm like, okay. So I managed to scrape together getting ready, finding my fucking uniform, and I try to make my way to work. Which is when she texts me again, and she's like, oh, like, by the way, like, could you maybe send me some money, because, like, I'm sorry, like, I don't want to pay for an ambulance, like, I'm gonna need an Uber to the hospital. And I'm like, wait, what? I was like, I thought you were already on your way to the hospital, like, I thought you were in the ambulance. And she was like, no, like, it's a figure of speech, like, I need to go now. And I was kind of thinking, like, wouldn't there be, if you, like, are injured that badly, wouldn't there be, like, other people at the incident that could help you? But I was just like, you know what, like, okay, how much do you need? She's like, send me like $30. I'm like, okay, cool. Mind you, she still has not paid me back for anything else that I have paid for. Like, none of the dancing shit, nothing. And just for more context, like, anytime we would garden, she never had her own gardening supplies. Anytime we would go out to eat, she never had her wallet. So like, the dance shit was not the only thing that I was paying for. And she always had like an excuse and like a sob story as to why she needed me to cover it. So I, at this point, was like getting a little bit suspicious. But like I said, you guys know that like in the past, I have been fully delusional. And when someone calls you and they're in a fucking car accident, I felt like an asshole, like questioning these things. So I was just like, okay, like whatever. So the next day rolls along and we have a shift at the same time. And I text her in the morning and I was like, hey, like, are you gonna be at work today? Like, what's going on? Like, do you need, like, what's happening? And she's like, oh yeah, I'll be there. And I'm like, oh, okay, cool. Like, you're clear to come to work? And she was like, yeah, I'm fine. And I'm like, okay. So if anything at this point, I'm still not super suspicious. I was just more concerned. Like, girl, you need to go home. Like, and now she was the type of bitch to post everything on her private story. So I was like, I don't know. Like, out of concern, I wanted to check to see, like, if she posted a picture of the car, like, she posted a picture in the hospital. You know what I mean? To see what was going on so I could, like, tell her to really stay home and that I could, like, see if I could do double the work that day to help her if I needed to. And I go on her private story, nothing's posted. So then I just had this, like, weird feeling in my chest that, like, I don't know, something wasn't right here. I go to her Instagram, nothing's posted there. So I don't know what compelled me to do this, but I had like an alt account and I went and I looked her up and this bitch posts out to dinner. And it was like, I don't know, it was like 16 hours ago. So it was like the night before. Like, she was out to dinner. She posted a picture of her plate. And even in this era of my life, I was still kind of confrontational. So I took a screenshot of it and I was like, this doesn't look like hospital food. Because now you just play with my money and you piss me off. And she's like, oh, like, why are you even looking at that? Like, this was from like a few days ago. I just thought the food looked good. I was like, what? So then she's like, okay, like, we'll just talk about it, like, when we go to work, okay? So I'm like, whatever. I go to work. I chose not to talk to her the entire shift, because what the fuck? Might have been, like, really immature of me, but whatever. And after our shift was over, she was like, do you want to go, like, hang out in my car and, like, I'll garden you up? I don't know how to say that on here without getting in trouble. And in my head, I was like, okay, well, that's a first. But anyway, I was like, yeah, that's fine. Because I was still like, okay, maybe there's an explanation for this. Like, maybe I'm just overreacting, you know? And then while I was walking to her car, I kind of had this realization, like, what if I've been blocked from her story for, like, a long time? And what if, like, all the money that, like, she's been fucking asking from me has been going to, like, her going out to dinner and doing shit? And mind you, when she was out to dinner, she was out to dinner with another girl from our work who she told me she didn't even like. That's something I forgot to mention earlier. So that, like, nothing was adding up, okay? So she explains it to me when we got in the car, and she's like, I don't know, like, I don't even know how that happened. Like, I'm really new to using Instagram like that. And, like, I must have, like, tried to, like, I don't know, tag you or something. And, like, maybe that happened. Like, she went the route of acting like she didn't know why I was blocked. And I was like, that's weird, though, because if you're going to tag me on your story, you, like, that's a whole different thing. You know what I mean? Like, it was huge thing I forgot to fucking mention here. She did not have a fucking mark on her head at all. Her head was fine. So, like, I think that she, like, hit somebody and then, like, tried to pass it off as if she was, like, super fucking injured or something. I can't, like, reason with this girl's logic. Alright, I finished my makeup, but I have to finish this fucking story. Tell me why. We're fucking sitting there. This shit was like a movie moment, okay? You could not make this shit up. She gets a call, and her phone is in, like, one of those little phone holder things. She gets a call from her mom. And now I'm really, really lost. Because last I heard, her mom was no longer living. I don't know if y'all remember that. So I literally, like, freeze frame, like, record scratch moment, like, look over and, like, point at the phone, and I'm like, are you gonna get that? Like, I can tell that, like, she knows that, like, every single lie that she's told me is about to crumble into a million fucking pieces, and her face goes white, and she just starts acting like, oh my god, like, somebody must have my mom's number, like, I don't know why this is happening. Now, this is where my delusion broke, guys. I could no longer, like, believe this shit. So I was like, answer it. Answer it. You should answer it. Let's see. Let's fucking see, because shit isn't adding up. And obviously she doesn't answer it. She declines it. But then she gets a text from her mom immediately after being like, why did you decline my call? Because mind you, her phone is still in the thing where it's in full view. So at that point, I don't even fucking say anything. I just got out of the car. And she didn't even say anything either. She let me leave. And at that point, I realized I was not getting any of that fucking money back. And I was pissed because, like, first of all, like, why would you lie about literally any of that? Because even if she was honest with me, if she was like, hey, I just need money to, like, go to dinner, I don't, like, whatever, like, I'm the type of person where, like, if my friends are really down bad, like, I help people. Like, as long as you get me back, like, I help my friends. So, like, it was just, then I later found out, like, she was never a fucking backup dancer. She was never a professional dancer anyway. I later found out from the other coworker that I later befriended that every time that she was getting money from me, she was telling the other coworker that, like, her boyfriend sent her money, which she did not have a boyfriend. The boyfriend did not exist. Boyfriend in question was not real. So she was like fucking lying to everybody, and then eventually she got fired because I think she, like, didn't show up for like 3 days straight, and I don't know, I think she tried to give them some bullshit excuse, but at that point everybody was privy to her bullshit. Yeah, when it's all said and done, that was just weird. That was a weird thing to occur. And I later quit that job, and I never heard of her again. I don't even think she has Instagram anymore. She might be in the psych ward, who knows. She should be, if she's not. But as always, I had so much fun getting ready with you guys, and I hope you have a good day or night or shift or class or whatever you have planned, and use this video to hang out with me for. And as always, I will see you guys tomorrow. Bye.